Hello, my name is Dr. Darcy Hogg-Granello, and I'm the Program Chair for the Ohio State University Counselor Education Program. Welcome to our online information session. If you haven't already done so, I encourage you to check out our website. It has lots of information about our program, our students, faculty, and alumni. You can also learn about upcoming information sessions that meet face-to-face in our building. At these sessions, you can meet faculty, current students, and view our facilities. If you are unable to attend one of the face-to-face information sessions, then I welcome you to continue on with this presentation to learn more about our program. On our website, you'll see that there's lots of information, updates, pictures, information about what's going on with our program. You'll also see that we have a 12-minute video where you can learn more about our program. I encourage you to spend time watching this video. One of the things we value about the OSU Counselor Education Program is the sense of community, of family that we have in our program. We believe that this presentation, this video, allows you to really get a good first-hand look at our program and the culture of our program and what we value. This is a picture of the start of the video. Also on our website is information for applicants to our program. If you click on that link, you'll be taken to information about the program, about the information sessions, and everything you need to know to apply to our program. On the website is a link to the Counselor Education academic website. This is the university's official website for our program. On that site, you'll be able to complete your application and learn all about the process for applying for our program. Now I'd like to tell you a little bit about our program. We are one of the oldest counselor education programs in the country. Ever since U.S. News & World Report has been ranking graduate programs, the OSU Counselor Education Program has been in the top 10. Currently, we are ranked number 4 in the nation. Our program is also fully accredited by KCREP. We have the strongest accreditation that is offered by KCREP, a full 8-year accreditation for each of our 3 programs, our 2 programs at the master's degree level and our PhD program. Our faculty are incredibly involved and invested in the profession of counseling. All of our faculty are engaged in service commitments at the state, national, and international level. Although our faculty interests are wide and varied, and you can learn more about these in the video, a brief overview of some of our most important research commitments are suicide prevention. We run the OSU Suicide Prevention Program out of the Counselor Education Program. The OSU Suicide Prevention Program is the largest university suicide prevention program in the country. Many of our graduate students work in this office and extend their volunteer commitments out into the university community. We are also very invested in the development of professional identity in counselors. We are very clear who we are. We are counselors. We are professional counselors, each of us. Our faculty are all licensed counselors, and we believe strongly in the profession of counseling. One of the things that we really push with our students is the development of a strong sense of professional identity. Our faculty are engaged in learning what makes excellent counselors, and some of the research we do is on their cognitive and affective development and how we can foster experiences within counselor education training programs that help facilitate this high level of quality in our graduates. Our faculty are also involved in evidence-based school counseling. One of our faculty members is the founder and leader of a national conference on evidence-based practices in school counseling to make sure that those of our graduates who practice in school settings give their students the highest quality evidence-based interventions. Our faculty are involved in wellness and stress management, and on the 4th floor of the PAES building where we are housed is the university's SMART Lab, Stress Management and Resiliency Training. This is a lab that was developed by our faculty, and many of our graduate students work in that lab. All of our faculty are also very involved in initiatives around the development of leadership and social justice initiatives. I think it's important for us to spend a little bit of time talking about the profession of counseling and how it relates to the other helping professions. Oftentimes, people are confused about the differences between these three professions, and it's understandable because there is certainly a significant degree of overlap. I'm going to make some broad brush strokes here as we think about the philosophy and historical roots of each of these three professions, just to give you an idea of kind of where they land. In general, social workers tend to focus on helping clients access services in the community, helping them realize what is available to help them with their housing, their nutrition, their work needs, and helping them access those services. In general, psychology comes from a medical model. It's a pathology-based model that focuses on what's wrong, on labeling what's wrong with the client. Counseling has its historical roots in a holistic wellness and healing perspective. We try to look at the client through a developmental lens, to look at what's right, what kinds of strengths that we can work from to help build our clients' resilience and capacity. I think in practice you might see a lot of overlap in how these professions actually interact with each other and what the kind of work they do, but it's more of a difference in philosophy. And I think another important thing to think about is oftentimes we think of psychology as a research practitioner or scientist practitioner model. That is, psychologists tend to be researchers or scientists first and practitioners second. Counselors turn that on its head. Counselors are practitioner scientists or practitioner researchers. We are practitioners first, who use research to inform our practice. So if we engage in research as a counselor, we're looking at our own client load or things that we can do to help our clients. For the most part, our master's degree graduates do not engage in bench science or research science just for its own sake. As an example, in psychology, which requires a PhD to practice, the first clients that psychology students see tends to be after their fourth or sometimes even their fifth year of graduate school. So they do all the research in science first and then see clients. In counseling, our master's degree counseling students see their first clients within their first year of the graduate program. So you can see that there's a very, very heavy focus on practice and helping you get right out into seeing clients with a lot of support, a lot of supervision. Nevertheless, right away we get you to helping clients. One of our faculty members likes to say to our first year students in their first week of class, just 18 weeks from now, you'll be seeing your first clients. And I think that sums up very well one of the major differences between psychology and counseling. The model here is probably a bit more complex than you are necessarily interested in exploring, but it speaks to these major differences within the three professions and the overlap between the three. Psychology, again, tends to come from a medical model and focus on pathology. Social work tends to be about the social environment within which clients live and work. And counseling is more of a developmental model with a focus on wellness and holistic approaches. We have 3 tracks in the counselor education program. 2 of them are at the master's level and 1 is the PhD. At the master's level, we train clinical mental health counselors and professional school counselors. At the PhD level, we train counselor educators or counseling faculty, people who want to work in university and train graduate students to become counselors. Let's talk for a moment about what these programs look like or what these tracks look like. Both our clinical counseling and our school counseling track at the MA level are 2-year full-time programs. We are very invested in the development of professional identity. toward that end, we are not interested in training people who take a class here and there whenever it's convenient, and maybe take 4, 5, 6 years to complete a master's degree program. We believe that in order to become a counselor, you have to be all in, that this developmental shift occurs when you spend a lot of time and focus and energy working on your graduate degree program and developing your new professional identity. Counseling isn't something that you do, it's something that you become, and that's different from a lot of professions. So we have our students take their graduate programs in 2 years. Sometimes it's 3. When life, when family, when having kids or other situations, health situations get in the way, it can be 3 years. But we never allow it to go more than 3 years because we believe after that you're not really becoming a counselor. You're just taking some courses here and there. Now, I will say that we fully recognize that not everybody has the opportunity to take a moratorium on life and go to graduate school full time. We just decided long time ago that we were not going to try to be all things to all people. We have a very small program. We have a very specific way that we train counselors. We have a very high success rate. But we recognize that our program isn't for everyone. As you think about the graduate programs that you would like to apply to, you really want to think about whether or not they fit not only the philosophy of what you believe, but also the logistics of what you can do with your graduate education. The other track that we have in our program is the PhD level of counselor education. We say this requires 3 years of work at a minimum full time, but full disclosure, most of our PhD students take more time than this. Most of them at a minimum take 3.5 to 4 years to complete all their work. In order to apply to our PhD program in counselor education, applicants must have a master's degree in counseling. Master's degrees in related fields are not acceptable. It must be in counseling, counselor education. That's an Ohio law, and so obviously we don't have any flexibility there. Sometimes students enter our master's degree program telling us that they want to apply to their PhD program as soon as they're completed the master's program. You can certainly do that. But we encourage our master's degree students to spend the first year of their program really focusing on becoming a counselor and not to worry about whether or not they want to apply to a PhD program until the start of their second year. We believe it's important to form an identity in this thing that you want to become a counselor before you worry about how you're going to train that identity in somebody else. As I've mentioned, all of our programs, all of our tracks have a strong emphasis on developing outstanding counselors who are leaders and who are strong advocates for social justice in all of their interactions. So let's talk a little bit about our master's degree program and what we think is so special about it. I think one of the most special and important things that we do is that we have a cohort model for our master's degree program. We only admit students in the autumn. We have a very small program. We take in about 10 or 12 school counseling master's students and 10 or 12 clinical counseling master's students every autumn. They travel together, they take all the same classes in the same order. What that allows us to do is a couple of things. First, it allows us to think about our program as an entire program rather than a bunch of classes. So that if you take a class in assessment, for example, and you learn how to do outcome research, and the very next semester you are going to be reading about outcomes research in practice, and the next semester you're going to be conducting your own outcomes research. So we are very clear about what is taught in all of our different classes and how the courses are sequential and build upon each other so that you really get the best quality information that is developmental and meets your needs during the program. Our small cohort also allows our students to work together as a team, to feel strongly connected to each other, to provide a high degree of safety. Our students know each other, our faculty know our students. You cannot hide in a class of 20 students. In the second year of your program, when you are in a class with just the school or just the clinical counseling students, you certainly cannot hide when there are 10 students in the room. So our faculty know our students. They know when they need a push. They know when they need a hug. They know what the best support is that they can offer the students. In our 2-year course program, our classes are offered in the evening. They start in the afternoon at 4 o'clock, and typically our students are in classes 3, sometimes 4 nights a week for either 4 to 7 or 7 to 10 p.m. or both. That means most evenings our students are in classes. We do not offer summer classes in the counselor education program. We think it's important for you to take a breather in between your first and second years of your graduate program. We think summer is there for a reason, to step away. This is an incredibly intense program, and it's important to step away. There are a couple of classes that are required in our program that are not offered in the counselor education department. All of our master's students take a research class not offered in the department. Many of our students take that class during the summer term between their first and second years. Our school counseling students also take a class in special education, and again, that course can be taken during the summer between your first and second year. Our program has 2 main pillars that are the foundation of learning. The first is academic. Students must learn about counseling skills. They must learn and practice all of the things that help clients improve, all of the things that school counselors need to do in schools. And so there's clearly a strong cognitive and skill-based component of our graduate program. But there is also a very important emphasis on personal growth and development. We have to work with students to help understand that they themselves become the instrument of healing when they work with others. That's a lot of responsibility, and what our students find is when we work with clients working on their own needs, a lot of our stuff emerges as well. And so we spend a lot of time helping our students understand themselves, understand who they are, what they believe, what they value. We do a lot of self-reflection and journaling, and a lot of assistance with helping our students grow personally into the person that they want to become as a counselor. Our MA program has field experiences attached to it. As I mentioned earlier, during the second semester of the first year, students are out in practicum, where they work on a site for 10 hours a week for 10 weeks. During the second year, they are out on an internship setting for 20 hours a week for the entire academic year. In these experiences, our students get to work closely with site supervisors who are all hand-selected and carefully chosen by the counseling faculty to help put their learning into practice out on sites. In the school counseling track, our school students are certified K through 12. That means when they graduate and get licensed, they can work in elementary, middle, or high schools. During their internship year, all of our school counseling students are placed in at least 2 different levels. That's to allow our students to have experiences in several settings that will increase their ability to get jobs. So oftentimes our school counseling students come in and they say, I want to work in an elementary school, or I want to work in a high school, or sometimes even a middle school. We certainly honor that preference and make sure that one of your levels that you spend time in during internship is the one that you've expressed preference for. But we also want to give you some exposure to another level as well. Of course, it increases your employability, but the other thing is that sometimes students have ruled out a particular level only because they haven't had experience with that. And once they gain experience with it, they recognize that that's a place that they might want to work in the future. I want to say a little bit about our school counseling program because it's very different than what you may be thinking of when you think of professional school counselors. We train our school counselors to be leaders in the school and advocates for all children. We are not interested in training people who are going to be handing out proficiency tests or scheduling students or other types of clerical work. Students in many schools are in distress, and they need a competent professional who can assist. When you have a master's level trained individual who is there to help students and to be an advocate for all students and to lower barriers to academic and personal success, then that individual has a responsibility to the students that goes far and beyond clerical work. So our students, our graduate students in school counseling, really learn how to be leaders, how to use data, and how to make a difference in schools. That's different than a lot of school counseling programs and a lot of practicing school counselors. So if you are interested in making systemic changes in schools, we might be the program for you. On the clinical track, the clinical license in Ohio has exactly the same scope of practice as a psychologist. So you can do in Ohio with a master's degree in clinical counseling what it would take a psychologist, a PhD, to be able to do. That means that we have to put a lot of training, a lot of emphasis on clinical practice, on diagnosis, on psychopathology, as well as wellness and developmental approaches to counseling into our clinical program. Our clinical graduates work in a variety of settings. They work in private practice, hospitals, agencies, colleges, and many, many other settings. An internship, our students get exposure to many of these different settings, and we help place our students into internship settings where they have excellent supervision. In fact, in both our school and our clinical program, most of our site supervisors are graduates of the OSU Counselor Education Program. We also have a really special opportunity within the program. We have one of our faculty members who is dually licensed as both a school counselor and a clinical counselor, and started and runs a large mental health in the schools program in a local school district. Our clinical counseling students who want to do mental health counseling in the school setting have an opportunity to do their internship in that setting. Let me speak for a moment about our licensure exams. We have 100% passing of our licensure tests for both the school and the clinical MA programs. We're extraordinarily proud of this. Our students are just incredibly bright. They work so hard, and they pass their exams on the first try. So congratulations to our graduates, because they sure make us look good when we have 100% passing of our licensure tests on the first try. We have 100% placement for all of our graduates of the program as well. In other words, our graduates get jobs in counseling when they graduate from our program. There's a lot of information, there's a lot of course materials or layout of the program and requirements of the program on our website. That information is under the information for current students, because it's the same information that our current students use to know what classes they're taking, in what order, in what sequence. So when you click on the information for current students, what you will see is the student handbooks and manuals, if you care to look a little more closely at some of that material. You will also see some of our advising documents and information about the way the program is formatted during the 2 years of the MA program. For example, you would find this schedule, which is the courses that you would take each year in the program when they're offered, and that'll give you kind of a sequential view of the program. Let me just talk for a moment about our PhD program. As I said earlier, although we do say you could do the program in 3 years, I think most of our students find 3.5 or 4 years is more realistic. We are training people to be professors, to be counselor educators. That's what we do. We have a very small PhD program. It's based on a mentorship model. Our PhD students work very closely with our faculty. They are engaged in research, they're engaged in teaching, they're engaged in service, and there is an overarching theme of leadership. We do not train advanced practitioners. We decided a long time ago that we can't be all things to all people, and what we would rather do is do one thing and do it extraordinarily well. So we train professors. Just as there is information under information for current students on the website for our master's students, so there is for our PhD program as well, the Doctoral Student Handbook and our Doctoral Program of Study. There's also a document called Doctoral Non-Course Requirements, and this is just the first part of that document. What I'd like to call your attention to here is that we are very interested in developing scholars who can step into the professoriate and have the experience and practice activities that they need to get started right away. Look, as a PhD level professional, we don't think it's that important anymore that you take a bunch of classes because, frankly, as a faculty member, I am just never called upon to take a course, do a midterm, take a final. Those kinds of experiences are just not what it takes to be successful as a professor. So we are interested in helping our students develop these competencies that are not really related to courses or to their coursework, but are things we would expect them to develop during their doctoral program. And again, we give them tons of support. We work with them on all of these. For example, we require you to be on a research team before you do your dissertation. We think that's smart. We don't think your dissertation should be your very first research project. So you can go to the website and learn more about these non-course requirements in our PhD program. This slide always makes me smile because we don't want our students to survive. We want our students to thrive. We think graduate school should be an exciting, intense, engaging time in your life. But what we mean here is, how do you survive, as in how do you eat? How do you put a roof over your head? Our students look for ways to fund their graduate education. The most common one is through a graduate associateship. All of our PhD students who want a graduate associateship are able to get one. We're able to get one for them. And many of our master's degree students have graduate associateships as well. The difference is that our master's degree students have associateships all over the university, not necessarily in our department. We work very hard to help our master's degree students find associateships, but there is no campus-wide distribution list of these jobs that are available. We have very good relationships with many of the programs on campus where we have had master's degree students in GA positions. When those students graduate, the people in charge of those programs often call us and say, "We want another one just like that." Our graduate students in counseling are bright, they are interpersonally skilled, they have great communication skills, they're dependable, they're reliable, they do what they say they're going to do. And that's such a wonderful assistance to all these programs that they go looking for counselor education students to fill these jobs. So we have a very high success rate in getting our master's students GA positions. You can't really apply for these GA positions until you are admitted into the university, because nobody's going to apply, no one's going to hire a GA who doesn't end up becoming a student. So the steps in the process are to apply for the GA positions after you are admitted into the program. Once you are admitted, we put you on an internal listserv and we send all the information that we hear about all the GA positions that are available out to that listserv so that you can apply for them. A GA position pays for your school, pays your tuition and fees, and it gives you a stipend each month, and that stipend is based on the level that you are in the graduate program. Information about stipends can be found on the graduate school website. Many of our students ask us, or our applicants ask us, about whether or not they can work during the program. I think it would be unrealistic to tell you that you can work full-time and do this program, which keeps you in class every single night during the week or 4 nights during the week and has a lot of out-of-class requirements of you. Certainly, I think it would be unrealistic to work full-time during your internship year. You're on site for 20 hours a week. You're in class 3 or 4 nights a week from 4 o'clock to 10 o'clock at night. You're doing all your coursework because your internship is on top of your regular academic work. So I think that would be unrealistic to work during your program full-time. Many of our first year students work at least part-time. They might be, waiters or waitresses or work in service industry sorts of things during their first year of their program. But it's hard, and most of our students end up taking out some student loans. Okay, so let's talk about the process for application. There is a December 1st deadline for your materials. That is a hard deadline. That is a university deadline. We do not have any flexibility in that. All the application is done online. You must have a 3.0 GPA. For doctoral students, you need a 3.2 in your master's degree program. The 3.0 is a graduate school requirement, and again, we don't have flexibility. We sometimes tell people who are very close that they should take a course or a couple of courses from anywhere in anything and make an A, and then we will add that transcript, the grades from that transcript, into your overall transcripts to bump up your GPA. We completely recognize that undergraduate GPA might not be reflective of your current abilities, especially if you've been out of school for a while or if you've started your undergraduate degree in a different major. Unfortunately, again, we just do not have flexibility here. The GRE scores, our dean has set this minimum. You must have a 50th percentile average of your verbal and quantitative. So those two together must be at the 50th percentile on average. Neither of those scores can be below the 35th percentile. There's no flexibility on that 35th percentile mark. That the dean has said, nope, that's the cutoff. There is maybe a point or two, and I don't want to overstate this, but maybe a point or two if you're at the 48th percentile when you average your two scores. That's possible, but it's going to depend on who the applicant pool is, because we would have to ask for an exception for everybody that we bring in that's below that 50th percentile. And frankly, we get a lot of applications, and a lot of people meet that 50th percentile. So I don't think you want to take yourself out of the running for a couple of points on the GRE. It might just make sense for you to retake it. Again, we recognize, my goodness, we are all counselors, we recognize that GRE scores are not necessarily indicative of your ability to do graduate level work in counseling. And I hope you can recognize that Ohio State is a great big old ship. It's a battleship. It takes a lot to move it. We can't make the kinds of changes that we always want to make, even when we have data to support our argument, because of the structures and rules that are in place at the university. So we will advocate for you, but please know that it doesn't make any sense for you to limit your ability to get into graduate school because of a GRE score if it just makes sense for you to retake it. Now, let me just be real clear about what I'm going to say here. Everything has to be turned in by December 1st. Turn in the GRE score that you have. Turn it in, or we can't even look at your application. If you plan to retake the GRE between December 1st and January 10th, please email me. My email is Granello, GRANELLO.1 @osu.edu. Email me and tell me that you are retaking the GRE. We will look at your file as though you have retaken the GRE and gotten the right score. By January 10th, we're making a decision about who we're interviewing, so we need to have your new score by then. But again, if you're going to retake the GRE between December 1st and January 10th, let me know. I will make a note in your file. We'll review your file even if your GRE is low, and then we'll know by January 10th what your new score is. I hope that makes sense. All right, let's talk a little bit about your letter of intent. Please remember that everybody who's reviewing your file is a counselor. All of the faculty in our program are licensed counselors. At least 2 faculty members will review each file. That means that your letter of intent ought to say something about you. We ought to get a sense of who you are. We are counselors reading pieces of paper, trying to understand who the people are who are applying to our program. We get a lot of applications. What we're interested in is people who understand who we are, what we do, who understand that our program is different than many others, who can show us why our program would be a fit for them, who tell us about why they want to be a counselor, a little bit about themselves. I'm not asking for a 20-page paper. In fact, please don't give me a 20-page paper, but probably 2 or 3 double-spaced pages about who you are, how you got to this point, and why counseling is the fit for you. As for your letters of recommendation, the minimum required is 3. We often say that there ought to be somebody who can speak to your academic ability, somebody who says, yes, this person is smart enough to do graduate level work, someone who can speak to your interpersonal skills, someone who can say, yes, this person has the interpersonal skills to be a counselor, and the third one rounds it out however you wish. Having said that, you should get letters from whoever you think will give you the best letters for what it is that you want to do. So there's no requirement that you have one from a professor or one from an employer, just who you think is going to give us the best well-rounded sense of you. All right, the application process itself, you go to ehe.osu.edu. You click on the academic tab of Educational Studies. That's the department we're in. Then you click on the Prospective Students tab, and there you'll find how you apply. You'll have live links to all the forms and the checklists that you need to complete by December 1st. Our school counseling MA applicants only, you have an additional form that you need to complete, and that's to meet state requirements for licensure for our program. What happens next is we read all of these files. Once we read the files, we invite people to an interview. Our PhD interviews are in January. Our master's program interviews are in February. They both include both group and individual experiences. Our master's degree interviews are an entire day. All of our current students are there. All of the applicants come. We invite about twice as many people as we plan to invite into the program. We spend the day together. Our current students spend the day with you. At the end of the day, you go home, and we all stay, all of the faculty stay, until we've made a decision about who we're going to invite into the program, who we're going to put on our wait list, and who we're not going to be able to invite to the program. Within a couple of days, you will know exactly where you stand. You will know whether you've been invited, whether you're on a wait list, and what your number is on that wait list, or whether or not we won't be extending an invitation. You should know that we have many more outstanding applicants than we have room for. We have this tiny program in this huge university. We have all the resources of this big university at our fingertips, and we have a very small and intimate program that we can really facilitate your development. But it means that we don't have that many spots. So we develop a wait list, and if we have anyone decline the spot in admission, we just simply go to our wait list and take the next person off the wait list. So that's it. That's the process. That's what happens. These are our full-time faculty. You can find all about us on the website. You can learn more about us on the video that I've directed you to. You can email any of us if you have specific questions about the program. I'll remind you again that this is our program website. I guess what I want to say in closing here is we have a small program. We have a challenging program. We have a program that trains outstanding counselors. I cannot say enough about how proud we are of our students and our graduates and the work that we do. I think if you've been to our website, you'll get a sense of us as a family. We talk about ourselves as the Counselor Education family. We are a family, and we extend our family to not just our students, but to all of their significant others, their parents, their children, their partners, their roommates, their friends. And we do want to make sure that we include everybody who's important in our students' lives into our Counselor Education family. This is how we make successful counselors. This is how we help people develop the professional identity that we need to have them go out and change the world. This is the most important job that anybody can do. Of course, I'm biased, but I believe that this is the job that changes the world. There's so much good to be done out there, and it's not enough to just want to do good. You have to be skilled, you have to know what you're doing, and you have to be outstanding to do the type of work that our clients, our students, the people around us need and deserve. So that's my little spiel about our program. You are welcome to email me or any of us if you have additional questions. Thank you.